Iran claims to have targeted a U.S. aircraft carrier. Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps say they have attacked USS Abraham Lincoln. The IRGC claims to have launched 4 ballistic missiles towards the 100,000-ton nuclear-powered supercarrier capable of carrying roughly 60 aircraft to 75. If confirmed, this will be the first direct attack on a U.S. aircraft carrier in decades. Along with the USS Abraham Lincoln, the U.S. has also deployed USS Gerald Ford. Once again, this is from Iran, and the IRGC has just put out a statement that it claims to have targeted U.S. aircraft carrier. Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps say they have attacked USS Abraham Lincoln. The IRGC claims to have launched 4 ballistic missiles towards the 100,000-ton nuclear-powered supercarrier capable of carrying roughly 60 to 75 aircraft. If confirmed, this will be the first direct attack on a U.S. aircraft carrier in decades, along with the USS Abraham Lincoln. The U.S. has also deployed USS Gerald Ford. And remember, the President of the United States has already warned Iran not to escalate or to do something that will anger the President of the United States, because he says he will now use all means necessary or all force against Iran's actions. And also, earlier today, there was a strike in Israel, and 9 people have lost their lives in an area called Beit Shemesh in Israel. This is following retaliatory strikes by Iran towards Israel. This is after Israel's Roar the Lion operation, together with the United States Epic Fury operation, which targeted Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and some armed officials or senior officials in Iran. Joining us live from London is Mr. James Marlow. He's a foreign and defense and West Asia analyst. Mr. Marlow, thank you very much for your time and for joining us at this hour. The latest coming in, I'll begin with the latest coming in, is that Iran has claimed, or the IRGC has claimed, to have targeted or attacked the USS Abraham Lincoln. And we did hear from the President of the United States, Donald Trump. He had warned Iran not to escalate this matter. What happens if at all Iran does indeed attack the supercarrier?
Well, as you can imagine, Eric, this is a full-blown war, and it's a very fluid situation. I'm getting notifications on my device in front of me right now, non-stop, and I've only been on the line for, well, less than 30 seconds with you as well. So it's really hard to know where to start. The Americans have made it very, very clear. I'm surprised that the Iranian regime never actually got the message. When you suddenly move one of the largest American forces into the region ever seen before in that region, surely that should actually get Iran to think about what it is that they're saying and how they're saying it in the negotiations. But they were very, very insistent. They demanded against America. And of course, this is what's happened as a result. And my feeling was that we were going to get to this stage simply because the ambassador to Israel from the United States, Mike Huckabee, a week before last Friday, sent an email to his employees at the embassy to say, those who wish to leave, I would suggest you do it in the next few days. And then Friday, for some reason, he released a tweet or a statement which actually said, those who wish to leave, I suggest you get out right now on a Friday, which gave us the impression that something was going to happen within the next 24 hours. Now, what has happened right now, I can tell you, is that I've just heard from the IDF, or from a source within the IDF, that they are again attacking specific positions across Iran. These are Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the militaries. They're hitting their missile systems, but of course those missile systems are right across Iran, and they're going across into Israel, as well as 7 other countries in the region, which has surprised a lot of people, including the Europeans and the British, as to why that they would attack specific targets targets in Dubai, like, for example, I've just got word, an apartment block has just been hit. Earlier, it was the Bahrain airport, international airport. Of course, yesterday we saw a hotel in Dubai. The Iranians are going after those tourists who are benefiting from Gulf holidays, and they want to hurt their economy. But at the same time, they've also pounded Israel this morning. For about 2 hours, the sirens were going off from the north to the south in the center. As you probably heard, there has been some of those missiles and attack drones that have got through. It's simply impossible to shoot them all down. There has been casualties on the Israeli side, and Israel is hitting back. And this is what happens in war, sadly.
Mr. Malo, how long can Israel withstand the retaliation from Iran? Because Iran says and has claimed it will not stop here. It will go on for as long as it takes.
Yeah, I think that meeting between Netanyahu and President Trump about a week and a half ago was crucial, because clearly certain things were being discussed. Netanyahu flew out to Washington without his aides. There was no press conference. It was a secret talk, and clearly something was on the cards. And obviously what Netanyahu was trying to convince the president was that you'll never ever get a better chance if you take down this Iranian regime, a regime change, which is exactly what 80% of the Iranian people inside Iran want, according to many surveys. And of course, you've got millions of Iranians all over the world, in the United States, here in London, where I am at right now, across Europe, who've been celebrating in Jewish communities, dancing on the streets with what they call their Jewish brothers and their Israeli brothers, because they see eye to eye. If this regime falls, then what you're going to see is the potential for real peace across the Middle East, not seen before for decades. What you can see is Iran joining the Iran joining the Abraham Accords. You can see, of course, Hamas and Hezbollah and Islamic Jihad and the Houthis. They would stay in power. They would still have their AK-47s. They would have political parties. They would have influence. They would still shoot many of their own people. But they won't have the type of training that this Iranian regime has given them for the last 47 years. They won't have the long-range missiles. That means a complete and utter change across the Middle East. Netanyahu saw that opportunity, tried to convince President Trump, this could be your coming. This could be the reason why you were voted in to become the American president. Now, of course, things are very crucial as the coming days and weeks unfold. And we are seeing, obviously, a lot of devastation right now. But the end game is, and others should not take their eye off the objective, and that is regime change. How is that going to come about? Well, it's not going to come about by the Israelis and the Americans putting soldiers on the ground in Iran. That's definitely not going to happen. And at this stage, Saudi, who are really angry with the Iranians right now, along with the UAE and Bahrain and other Gulf states, they're unlikely to put soldiers on the ground in Iran. That means that it has to be some of those from the IRGC inside Iran right now, and there's clearly an intelligence leak. It's major. The information that the Americans and the Israelis have got, so they could have targeted the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and I'm hearing this morning as well, or this afternoon, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. He was the president between the year 2005 to 2013. He was very famous because he kept saying, Israel will be dead. Israel will be destroyed. We will destroy Israel. He said that hundreds and hundreds of times. That's how he became very famous. He's been hit. It's not been confirmed yet by the Iranian authorities, but he's been hit. Israel and the Americans are slowly taking out all their leaders. That means some of them are moving to the other side. If that happens, they will have tanks, they will have arms, they might have airplanes, and they might join with the people and then overthrow this regime. But of course, it's difficult to say at this point exactly how that's going to unfold in the coming days and weeks.
So we'll have to wait and see what unfolds in West Asia and what really unfolds in Iran in the coming days or even weeks or even months. But that is up to Iranians to decide. James Malo, thank you for talking to us today.
Thank you.
What does it take to build India's largest startup platform? It takes a journey of starting out as an unknown and ending up as unforgettable. It takes more than 2 decades of celebrating the most influential and influencing the most celebrated entrepreneurs. From chronicling the stories of India's startup universe to becoming a success story in itself, as India's longest running show on startups and entrepreneurship.
Young Turks at 22. Only on CNBC TV 18 and CNBCTV18.com.
For more news and updates, all you need to do is follow CNBC TV 18 on all of our digital platforms.
Russia and China have issued strong reactions following the latest strikes on Iran, warning that the situation could spiral into a wider regional conflict. Russia has sharply criticized the attacks, calling them destabilizing and dangerous. The Russian Foreign Ministry urged all sides to exercise restraint, warning that continued escalation could have serious consequences for regional and global security.
Масштаб и характер предшествовавших этому безрассудному шагу военно-политических и пропагандистских приготовлений, включая стягивание в регион крупной военной группировки США, не оставляют сомнений в том, что речь идет о заранее спланированном и не спровоцированном акте вооруженной агрессии против суверенного и независимого государства, члена Организации Объединенных Наций, в нарушение основополагающих принципов и норм международного права.
Moscow emphasized that there is no military solution to the crisis and called for renewed diplomatic engagement to prevent further deterioration of the situation. China echoed similar concerns. Beijing said it is deeply worried about rising tensions and strongly opposed any actions to violate Iran's sovereignty. China has called for an immediate de-escalation, urging all parties to return to dialogue and avoid steps that could push the region toward a broader conflict.
武力不是解决国际争端的正确方式，只会加剧仇恨和矛盾。中东局势升级外溢，不符合任何一方的利益。通过对话谈判解决矛盾分歧是唯一的出路。中方呼吁立即停止军事行动，防止局势轮番升级。
Both Russia and China share strategic ties with Iran and have consistently opposed Western military interventions in the region. Their statements reflect growing global concern over the possibility of a prolonged and wider confrontation in West Asia. As the situation continues to evolve, the international community is closely watching whether diplomatic efforts can contain the crisis or if the region is heading toward a more dangerous phase. This is Apurva Adhikari for NDTV World.
ما باید برخوردار باشیم از تسلیحات بازدارنده. اگر یک کشوری تسلیحات بازدارنده نداشته باشه زیر پای دشمنان له میشه. تسلیحات بازدارنده یکی از واجبات ملت ماست. آمریکایی‌ها بی خود در این قضیه دخالت میکنن. شما موشک فلانجوری داشته باشید، فلانجوری نداشته باشید. تا فلان برد داشته باشید، بیشتر از اون نداشته باشید. به شما چه؟ به شما چه ارتباطی؟ مربوط به ملت ایران. ملاحظه باشید. مثل حرکت داعش. به نظرشون میرسه که مرتبا میگه رئیس جمهور آمریکا که ارتش ما قوی ترین ارتش دنیاست. قوی ترین ارتش دنیا ممکنه اونچنان گاهی سیلی بخوره که از جا نتوانه بلنش.
Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed in massive U.S. and Israeli strikes on Saturday. Iranian state media confirmed that the 86-year-old leader had been killed after initially denying reports of his death. A senior Israeli official told Reuters Khamenei's body had been found. And Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Khamenei was no longer alive.
For 3.5 decades, this tyrant dispatched terrorism across the world, made his own people miserable, and worked constantly and tirelessly on a program to annihilate the state of Israel. That plan is there no longer. And there are many signs that this tyrant is also no longer.
Netanyahu also said Khamenei's compound had been destroyed, and Revolutionary Guard commanders and senior nuclear officials had been killed.
They will never have a nuclear weapon.
In an early morning address, Trump said the strikes on Iran were aimed at ending a security threat, and he called on Iranian security forces to lay down their weapons and invited the Iranian people to topple their government once the bombing ended.
When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
Iran called the U.S.-Israeli strikes unprovoked and illegal. Tehran responded to the attacks with missiles fired at Israel and at several Gulf Arab allies of the United States that host American bases.
I don't see a diplomatic off-ramp.
Berchu Oshelik is a senior research fellow for Middle East security at Britain's Royal United Services Institute.
It's a huge gamble for all of the sides involved. There are many unknowns and unknowables in this scenario. It's a gamble for President Trump because there could be significant political costs for him in the tragic event of U.S. casualties. There will be a public backlash against that in the United States. We're already hearing about why Congress hasn't been involved in the decision-making process behind launching this offensive. There's a gamble for Israel. We do not yet have a sense of what damage Iran could do on Israel and its citizens, although thus far it has been limited. And it's a gamble for Iran, certainly.
Explosions from Saturday's strikes caused widespread panic across the region. Eyewitness video showed heavy damage at a school in southern Iran, where dozens of people were reportedly killed in an Israeli airstrike. Reuters could not immediately confirm the death toll. A separate video showed the moment of a strike near a U.S. Navy base in Bahrain. But after confronting hundreds of Iranian missile and drone attacks, the Pentagon said there were no U.S. deaths or injuries. In Israel, sirens sent people rushing to shelter as Iran launched a series of missiles. Loud booms sounded in Abu Dhabi, and several blasts were heard in the business capital, Dubai, where one of the city's plush hotel districts was also hit. Tehran promised a stronger response to come.
Yes, Brent crude is currently trading at $73 per barrel, which is not reflecting the actual impact of this war. So Monday morning is something that we'll see that. But given the fact that oil is expected to be on the higher side, this will definitely have some bearing on India because nearly 85% of our energy requirement is met via imports. However, the intensity of the same has come down. But still, given the fact that 85% of the energy requirement is met through imports, there will be some impact not only on multiple sectors but also on India Inc. as well, given the fact that a 10% increase in Brent prices increases the CPI and WPI or inflation by around 40 to 80 basis points. A 10% increase in crude oil prices also widens our current account deficit by nearly 30 bips. And if you look at the sectors which gets impacted, now firstly when it comes to the oil marketing companies, rising crude oil prices will impact their marketing margins. Higher crude prices means lower marketing margins, and a drop of around 0.5 rupees per litre drop in the marketing margin impacts the EBITDA of oil marketing companies, that is IOCL, BPCL and HPCL, by anywhere between 7 to 11 odd %. When it comes to paint companies, nearly 40% of the raw material cost is related to crude oil prices. So that could also, this could also impact their margins if there is a sudden rise in the crude prices. And when it comes to aviation companies like Indigo and SpiceJet, 40% again of the raw material cost is crude oil, is related to crude oil, because ATF cost for the major part of their raw material cost, and if that increases, again their margins could also get impacted. When it comes to lubricant manufacturers like Gulf Oil and Castrol, 50% of their raw material cost is crude derivatives. A rise in crude oil prices will impact them as well. And when it comes to tire companies, synthetic rubber, carbon black and multiple other chemicals, the prices of these raw material are derivative of crude oil prices. A rise in crude oil prices will increase the prices of these raw materials also, and these total raw material form nearly 40% of the total cost for any tire company. When it comes to cement companies, again 40 to 50% of their cost is either directly or indirectly linked to crude, and a rising crude oil prices could increase their cost as well. For specialty chemical, multiple companies stand to get impacted because key raw material prices are again related to crude oil prices. But on the positive side, for explorers like ONGC, Oil India, Vedanta and HOEC, for them it will be positive, given the fact that a $5 per barrel rise in the Brent crude prices will impact positively their EPS by around 7 to 12 odd %. But do remember, to actually realize this impact or to actually see the negative impact, crude oil prices need to stay higher for a longer period of time. If it is just for a short period of time, there won't be much of an impact.
Sure.